So today I'm welcoming in Brittany, and Brittany is a business coach for entrepreneurs. She is all about building confidence, all about life coaching and mindset, and I'm super excited to bring her here today to specifically talk about mindset when it comes to pricing, because it can be such a scary topic. Welcome, Brittany.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So my audience are female photographers. They are solo entrepreneurs, and they are jumping into the world of niching in maternity and newborn photography. And there's so many things that I feel like can scare us as creatives, and pricing is that biggest piece. But before we jump into that, I want my audience to get to know you a little bit so they can kind of see like who you are behind the business, what got you into this kind of work, and how you can help them.
Okay, awesome. So I did photography for 10 years and I specialized in high school senior photography.
Nice.
So I think I just started like a lot of people. I wanted to take good pictures of my kids. And then I realized just because you have a nice camera, that doesn't mean you can take good pictures, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
then I love to learn, and I'm constantly reading self-help books and watching tutorials. And so I just said, I want to get better. And I think one of the things with me is the business part of it came more naturally than the
Yeah.
creative part. I had to work at the creative. I'm very analytical.
Okay.
Um, is like my jam, and I do spreadsheets for fun. And so, but I have to run the creative.
I
Yeah.
don't know any creatives that do spreadsheets
I
for
know, I
fun.
know. So, but then I did that, and I went to a market where um, there wasn't a lot of money. I
Mhm.
was in a border town with a military base, so we
Okay.
have,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
so the median
totally.
income was so low, and I remember going there and meeting up with other photographers and them saying, how much do you charge? You're never going to make that here. And I
Mm.
was like, I'll make a try. And so I think I think early on I knew like the value of, like good work.
Mhm.
So I did photography, and I had a great career. I also had for 5 years we did, my partner and I, we had a photography magazine, Mosey magazine. We
Nice.
started years ago. Yeah. So we did that. I was the editor in chief, and we kind of did that together. And then we ended up selling it. We just didn't have time to commit to it. And I had a lot of success. I was featured in the Wall Street Journal, Good Morning America. Yeah,
Oh, girl.
I was in several photography publications, and so I had a great successful business. I think about, I'm in my 40 somethings, and I midlife crisis a little bit, and I was just like, you know what, it's time to, I just kind of felt like I want to do something more. I want to do
Yeah.
something
Hmm.
more. I also run a nonprofit. It's called the Compassion Club, and we put curriculums in schools that are like clubs for random acts of kindness. And
Nice.
I wanted to do something more, and so I ended up I wanted to do life coaching. I was kind of doing it like anyway in my
Hmm.
life, and I'm going to go get certified. And so I went and got certified as a life coach, and it was one of the best things that I did. And
Really?
so mindset. Yeah, I think it's like we know these things with our mind. We know that we hold ourselves back, but just having the tools to really look
Hmm.
over that and just like push forward. And so
Yeah.
it changed it for me. It was a
Hmm.
huge game changer for me. And then shortly after that, I moved to Houston. So I'm in Houston now. And I was, I wanted to do mindset and coaching, but I just kept going back to the entrepreneur. Me just loves business. Like
Hmm.
I love
Hmm.
business. So I do business coaching. The very first thing I teach every client is mindset, because it's the
Yeah.
most important.
It is. It just sneaks up on you and bites you in the butt.
Yeah. I always say I can give you every business tool there is that will make you succeed, but if you do not have your mindset,
Mhm.
like it won't get you to where you need to go.
Yep.
You'll never move on. You'll never move forward. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I
so that's
completely agree. And I feel like with creatives, for some reason, we attach like so much self-worth in ourselves to like the amounts that our clients actually pay, when it realistically has absolutely nothing to do with your own value. And it's just, it can be a really scary beast to conquer. I have one of the women that I'm helping right now. She is an amazing, amazing up and coming newborn photographer. And her biggest hurdle by far is mindset. And every little step forward, you know, there's always one little step back at the same time. And, you know, as I feel like as an entrepreneur now, I've been for 14 years now, we come across obstacles every single time in our business. And if you build up that confidence and that mindset to know that, yes, okay, this is a hurdle, but you're going to learn something from it. You got to actually take something from it to then apply to your business so that you can move forward and know that it's not going to kill you in the meantime. It's just going to actually propel you to do what's right. So mindset is gigantic for that piece. And, you know, when we're as photographers working with like, I mean, typically we're selling emotion, right? It's like, you know, the piece of paper that our photograph is printed on is worthless. But that moment that you got in somebody's life that they'll never get back is so priceless. So that's such a big mindset piece right there alone that it's really hard for some people to be able to understand and grasp.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we get stuck on that.
Yeah.
And so you kind of touched on, you know, like when you come up against an obstacle. So one of the things like that I teach is when you come up with an obstacle, a lot of times our thoughts are, I don't know how to do this. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. And then what is the result we get in that? Nothing happens, because a lot of times when we have these thoughts, obstacles, they paralyze us and we don't move forward. And so I always, you know, when I work with my clients, I'm like, okay, what is the obstacle? And they give an obstacle. Okay, what are all the obstacles with that obstacle? You know, for example, if, you know, one of them, a big one is time. I don't have time, or I don't know how to do this. Right. And then you form a strategy for those obstacles. Okay, if you don't have enough time, what's your strategy? Okay, I'm going to make time. Okay, when are you going to make time to do this? You know, just really learning how to overcome obstacles so we don't get stuck. So
yeah,
it's a big deal. It really is.
Absolutely. So when it comes to pricey, like, why do you think so many creatives live with that like money scarcity mindset?
Well, I think part of it is that that's kind of what we've always known. Because if you talk to people where, you know, depending on how they've grown up, you know, if I grew up in a small town and my dad was an engineer, my mom was a school teacher. Yeah, we had a great life, but we weren't out on our yacht or in our summer home, right? You know, so a lot of it is like we have learned like this is a good life, this is good and contentment, you know, and it really is a reflection of how we grew up. Because if you take somebody who grew up and they had a ton of money, they don't have that same mindset, right? Because they think, oh, everybody has a lot of, I grew up going to summer homes. And so a lot of it is the way that we grew up. And if you notice different people, I have a friend, and I remember when she barely started in photography, and she'd ask me my prices. And I mean, barely, like I'm talking, got the camera out of the box, barely started. She's like, oh, I'm going to charge what you charge, because she had grown up with a lot of money. That was her life. She didn't think anything different. Like, oh, okay. You know, so I think that is definitely like part of it is how we grow up. And I also think as women, we tend to not see our own potential. For example, I coach a lot of entrepreneurs, and the first thing I say is, what's your big magic dream? If you could wave a wand and get anything. And I'm like constantly surprised at how their dreams are just nothing fantastic, nothing, just mediocre. You know, and I think it is, oh, if I can make a little extra cash to go on vacations and decorate my house or whatever. But it's like, why? Why isn't your goal, I want to make $1 million? You know? Yep. Another thing that we do is we put labels on each other. So how often do we meet a doctor or a lawyer or an executive, and we know what they are, and automatically we think they're more educated than me. They make a lot of money, but it's because they are smarter than me. No, it's like really, it's a mindset of knowing your own worth. You know, I always say you have to just own who you are, and you know, what's your superpower, and that's worth a lot of money. And once you identify it, that's worth a lot of money. So finding worth in yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I recently was on datausa.com and I just can't even begin to tell you how surprised I was when I looked up some of the specific details about photographers in the US, right? So there was overall, it was like 114,000 registered business photographers, and men were making over double what women were making in their photography business. And that just blew me away. And a lot of the times what I see is because, you know, or at least I feel like women will use this as an excuse sometimes, is the fact that they're juggling so much, right? Juggling kids, juggling family, house, business, blah, 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 right? So, and I feel like a lot of times women kind of fall into the role of a photography studio because they found something that they happen to love that they kind of do in between their kids being home and napping and little things going on. And then they realize all of a sudden, like, hey, I'm putting so much time and effort and energy into this, and it's not worth the money that I'm getting back for it, right? So I feel like there's so many ways that if women really understood their self-worth, truly knew how to set their business up right from the start, right? Not just like, okay, it's a hobby, I'm going to treat it like a hobby, but yet I'm hoping to make some money from it, then they would be able to just have this mindset that like money will easily come to them, that they know their self-worth, they know it's going to be available to them as long as they have that mindset as well as a solid plan to be able to get it with pricing. So do you think there's any other reasons why like women, I know you mentioned some of them, but like particularly with photographers, why women are so far behind men?
Okay, actually have a couple thoughts on this. It's
Okay.
interesting because and not that I'm perfect, because I think with any mindset, any skill you're trying to develop, you have to practice. And
Right. Absolutely.
people don't put enough time and effort and investment in mindset. And it's really unfortunate because it's what can take us the furthest. So I work a lot on my mindset. I have the tools, I know it, but it's interesting because when I was an established photographer, I had a different mindset. And it's funny that you say that about how as women, we say, oh, we have the kids, we have this. So to me, my mindset was, I would rather be with my kids right now. And so if I'm going to do this session, like it has to be worth my time because my children and my family is worth more than anything you can give me. And so that's the mindset. So one of the things like I would do with my client is like, when you think that thought, the thought that you said, I don't have time because I have to juggle it, what's a different thought that you can have? You know? And a different thought could be that my time is so valuable because I have a family and they're the most important thing to me. So I have to make this, you have to pay me this much or it's not worth my time. And so I think I had that shift early on in my career. I don't do weekends. When I was doing photography, it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If they wanted a weekend, they'd have to pay extra because my weekends were so precious to me. And it was also, I had the mindset that if I do this, it has to be worth my time and I'm going to make that. So I didn't start that way. Obviously, I've been doing it for 10 years. I had a mind shift, but it's just like getting in that mind shift. As far as men go, it's really interesting because I specialize in female entrepreneurs. I do not like to coach men. And it's because women, I see women, the mindset is so big with women. You know, I've coached men before and they're like, oh yeah, I'm charging $3,000. And I'm like, really? And and their work does not, to me, is not a $3,000 work, but it's just like, they just have that mindset. Like, I'm just going to make $3,000. And we need to have that same attitude is my time is valuable. My work is good. We invest in this skill. And, you know, so we wouldn't go to a doctor or a dentist and say, hey, are you going to give me a deal on, are you going to give me a deal on pricing? But yet we as creative entrepreneurs, we're constantly finding ourselves in that position where we're compromising our worth because we want business or whatever the reason may be. But I think it's just really important to get solid in your mindset.
Yeah. Okay. So my audience is the same as yours. I typically work with just women because, of course, photographing babies, women, obviously, we've got that motherly sense in us. But so speaking specifically to a woman, what are some tools that you can use if you have this kind of like money scarcity mindset that you can rewire your brain to be able to think more abundance line versus scarcity?
Yeah. Okay. So the very first thing that you do is you recognize your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to you, if I were coaching you, is how do you feel about your pricing? Let me coach you. Let's
Okay.
role model here.
All right.
Let's role play.
Do it.
You be a client. You be a client that is not charging very much. So I'll say, Michelle, how do you feel about your pricing? What are the thoughts you have when I say, Michelle, you need to raise your prices? What are the thoughts you have?
Well, I'm really nervous because there's so many photographers around me that are just kind of, shooting the session, handing over their digital images for a really low price. And if I'm more expensive than they are, I'm going to lose clients.
Yeah. So you said, so I identified that the feeling you're having is like you're nervous, and the thought you're having is, oh, it's really saturated, I'm going to lose clients. And so then when you have that feeling of nervousness, then what do you do with your pricing?
You either go lower or you stay the same.
And what's the result in that?
Burnout and bye-bye studio.
Exactly. So then I say, how do you want to feel about raising your prices? What is the feeling you want to feel?
Well, I mean, I want to feel empowerment by it. I want to feel confident that the prices that I'm trying to achieve are actually achievable, something that I feel like is going to give me, the profits that I need to be able to then reinvest in my business and grow my business, but still not be out of the affordability realm of my clients.
Yeah. So in order for you to feel confident about raising your prices, what are the thoughts that you need to have so that you can feel that confidence?
I guess that my work is good enough, that people see my images and know that the quality is there and they have a great experience, and that I'm providing them with amazing service.
Yeah. So when you have the thought is my work is good enough, it is an amazing experience, it's worth the investment, and you feel confident, then what are you going to do?
Then I'm going to be able to basically bring in what I deserve, and I'm going to be able to bring my clients what they deserve.
Yeah. And so you raise your prices, and the result is you're making more money and you're enjoying it. So it's just like a mindset. So the very first thing that I do is recognize how you feel.
Okay.
And about anything. And this actually works in relationships. It works in anything. Recognize how you feel. Are you stressed? Are you anxious? Are you insecure? Whatever it is. And then say, what are the thoughts I'm having that are making me feel that way? And a lot of times those feelings are negative and self-doubt. And so then you say, how do I want to feel? I want to feel confident. And so then you have to say, what are the thoughts I need to believe so that I feel confidence? So our thoughts are what get us results, right? And so you have to work on like a mindset. You have to say, and the thing is, backing up a little bit is if you have your ideal clients and you've targeted people who are willing to invest that value your work, then they have the money. So you kind of got to, those are hand in hand. These are my ideal clients, and hopefully your ideal clients are people who have money who will invest in that. These are my ideal clients. They have money, they value good photography, and they will be willing to pay. And a side note on this, you have to be able to accept failure and just say like, you know what, that's okay. They weren't right for me.
Right.
I've seen that time and time in my business. I said, how often do we send out our pricing and we don't hear anything back? What are we making that mean? What are you making that mean? And if you're making that mean, my prices are too high, my work isn't good enough, then you need to change your thoughts. Your thoughts should be, those are not my ideal clients then.
Totally. And I always feel like I'm a true believer that no matter what your prices are, like even if they're $25 for an entire session in all of your digital artwork, there's always going to be somebody who even finds that expensive because they're all over the place with people have different just ideas and budgets for photography and, items that aren't like, I don't want to say not necessary because I feel like photography is a very necessary part of my life, but are more of the want versus the need, and it's just kind of something people have to go thick skin to.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So if you're talking about like when creatives, or let's talk about abundance mindset. So for somebody who has now rewired their brain and is taking on more of that abundance feel, like what are the thoughts typically that somebody with money abundance mindset kind of experiences?
Well, I think it's different for everybody. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things is it has to be a believable thought to you.
Okay.
So I always give this example. If I was 300 pounds and I wanted to lose all this weight,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot look in the mirror and say, man, I am one sexy beast right now, right? But I could look in the mirror and say, I'm a woman. Like,
Yep.
that's believable. So you have to start with a believable thought,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So in order for abundance, you have to, you know, some thoughts that you could try to see if you believe them is, people have money. They will come to me. Money is everywhere. There is, you know, it's just any thought with abundance. Like, we get in this mindset where we think it's like the world is like a pie, you know? And if Oprah Winfrey is making all this money and she's taking all this money, that means there's less for us to earn,
right,
to make. And so that's not true. There's plenty of money. There's tons of money. But we also have to realize, like, we create money. It doesn't just happen to us. We create it by giving value, by over delivering, by serving. Like, those are the things that we have to do to actually like create opportunity and create money. Right. So you have to just start with, if you want to have an abundance mindset. And I'm also a big believer in when you give, you receive. Right. And so give value. I believe in the law of attraction. If you give, you'll receive. If you produce great products and great experiences, you're going to receive. You will get, it'll come back to you in your business for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been listening to some podcasts lately about manifestation and like really kind of like taking time to manifest your thoughts in a way that you can process things, you can make them happen to you. You can just like, you know, again, it's almost like journaling and writing the same phrase or goal over and over and over again. And it just kind of like, what are your thoughts on like journaling and you're writing your goals and writing your mindsets to change things?
I'm huge. You can't even see, but this is my vision board behind me. Nice. And the money stuff is up there. You just can't see it. Yeah. So, but no, I am a huge believer in goals for, you know, I write down, I actually have gone back, I've reverted back to old school, and I have a planner. And every day I write in my planner, like, hey, what are my 3 main goals and how am I going to get there? And then I have my to-do list, and you know, a lot of it is just, I'm a huge believer in just like manifestation. Like, I'll write letters to myself in 5 years, you know, and I'll write letters from myself in 5 years back to myself, you know, like, remember that one summer where you had just started your business and you were struggling, like, oh man, now we're just chilling and we've taken the summer off. We're at a lake house for a month. And so I am a huge believer in the law of attraction. I'm a huge believer in, like, speak as if you are already having success. Speak as if, oh, I'm completely booked out for 6 months. Like, you have to create that because that's what you want.
Absolutely.
You know it's going to happen. And so live as if it's happening. I'm not saying like, don't book like your summer vacations out for the next 5 years, but really get in a mindset where you know it's going to happen. If you put in the work and put in the time. Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like a lot of the times too, so one of the things with photographers who are getting to that point, they want to raise their price, but they're nervous about it, they're worried about like, you know, what people are going to think. Journaling the experience, right? So their feelings, what their clients' reactions are, so that as they go through and they get to see it, and then the next time that they raise their prices, they can go back to those same mindset things, because I guarantee you they're going to, at least some of them are going to come up over and over again, because, you know, they like to raise their dirty little heads every once in a while and just keep coming back and jump on that little devil side of you with the evil voice there. But when you can document it and you can see it, you can acknowledge it and you can say, okay, I did it this first time. I felt like this. I got through it and I accomplished what I wanted to. I raised my prices and I'm going to do it again and it's going to be okay.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Hmm.
You have to do that, or
Yeah.
it won't happen. You have to live that way.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I know we get so busy as solo entrepreneurs that if we don't write stuff down and take a moment to actually like let it sink in, I just know that like if I don't write something down right away these days, it's just gone out of my head regardless because how much I have going on. And so, yeah. And so I feel like that could be a tool that photographers can use to just document their own personal experience with it and go from there too. So you have a little freebie for everybody. Can you talk about it a little bit? So, and then I'll give the details and I'll be able to link to it in here so people can access it.
yeah, awesome. I have just created a freebie, and it's just kind of, like I said, it's just going to help you really recognize your thoughts. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of walks you through, because I think the very first step in growth is always just recognizing where are you at now and where
Mm-hmm.
do you want.
Okay.
And then just recognizing and be prepared that you're going to have negative thoughts about your worth, about what you're going to charge, and identify those negative thoughts. So it just kind of walks you through step by step on just A, recognizing your mindset, and B, overcoming it and getting to a place where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I had mentioned before, like everything, have compassion on yourself. It takes time. You know, you might want to make $3,000 every session, and that's a great goal. But your mindset might not quite be there. It's just something you have to just keep practicing.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen overnight. I give the example of lifting weights. You're not going to go and lift up a 50-pound dumbbell the very first time you go to work out.
Right.
You have to build up. And it's the same thing with mindset. You have to just keep continually working on it and just building up and really understanding your mindset. It's really powerful once you do.
Okay, so my last question to you, my dear, is are there any books, like your go-to books on mindset for creatives or just women in general that you feel like would be an awesome asset to have for my audience to kind of look into and get?
Oh my God, you are putting me on the spot. Let me look in my article what I'm reading right now. I'm currently listening to Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, which is fabulous. Oh, I know a good one. I'm not a cusser, so sorry, but I'm a bad A at making money. What is that? You know,
yeah, I'm a Badass Moneymaker by Jen Sincera. Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Girl Wash Your Face,
yep.
Rachel Ellis is a good one that I read. Crushing It by Gary Vee. There's so many good ones.
Okay. Well, I'll list those ones here so that everybody can check them out, because I probably one of the first mindset books that I ever read was You're a Badass. And I ended up going to see her here in Portsmouth. She came and did like a little book reading and whatnot. And I mean, it was pretty amazing. And she talks about a lot like what we talked about today, for just like, you know, finding your inner being when it comes to mindset, and saying that like money is all around you. It really truly is. And it's available to you. And you just have to be in the right mindset to accept it and to find it and to allow it to come to you. So that was definitely one of my favorite kind of go-to books for that piece too. Well, I was so excited to be able to introduce you to my audience. And I think that they're going to kind of leave pumped after watching this and be able to download your freebie and just put some actionable tips down to like really conquer that piece as they're growing in their business and they're moving the needle forward. And I can't thank you enough for joining me here and giving all of these great tips.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We'll see you again soon, I'm sure, because I know there's a bunch of other topics that we can chat about.